There it is. The FRaNKEnaXLE. DIY. Hey everybody, here I am at my workbench. Just got my mini rock crawler, my Losi Mini rock crawler here. This started as a Rock Crawler Pro kit, and it's evolved since then. There's not much stock left on it. The axle, that's about it. But I was just talking to a few people on RC crawler forums. That's where I get a lot of my ideas and information from. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a DIY of, I'm going to make some unique axles where I put the mini, I take the mini axles and I put a set of XR10 axles above or over top, slide over top, so that the knuckles that I put on here, I put XR10 Vanquish knuckles on here already, so that those will sit nicer, be adjustable, be a lot more secure. So my first DIY video I'm doing here. So I have to admit I cheated. I started without you guys because I wasn't really sure what I was doing with this. It was just kind of just sitting here, and I decided to start working on it. So this is a stock mini crawler, Losi Mini crawler axle. What I've done is I cut off the C-hub mounts, and I cut off the shock and link mounts, and I shaved down tubes so they sit, let's see if I can find my digital caliper. I think they're just over 10 millimeter. There it is. So yeah, just over 10 millimeter. So those are going to sit like that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the XR10, do it that way so you guys can see it, the XR10 axles, and I'm going to drill them out so that they'll essentially slide over top of this. I'll cut them about here and then they'll slide over. You'll see as we go. But a few people have been kicking this idea around. I think it's fairly unique, and I think it's going to benefit my steering throw and the durability of the link and shock mounts on the mini crawler. So I'm going to give this a shot. First thing I'm going to do is pull these out of the package. I'm going to use some screws to hold them together so that when I drill them out, they don't come apart on me. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that's one side of it screwed together. I'm not sure where I'm going to cut it yet, so I'm actually going to drill them first, because I'm going to have to cut this off somewhere around here so that it will fit onto the mini crawler. If you can kind of get an idea. It's still going to be a little bit long. I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but we'll see. That's why it's a prototype. That's why it's a kind of play it as you go, figure it out kind of thing. So I'm going to throw a pair of vice grips on this now, just at this end, because there's no screw holes to really secure it at that end. And I've got this drill bit, this one here, and I've measured that one, and it's just over 10 as well. Just slightly bigger than what these tubes are right now. So I'm just going to drill through the XR10 housing. And I think it's stopping because it's to the point where these screws are, and they won't let it by because they're in tighter than that, but that should be sufficient anyways. We're not going to need that much. I'm hoping I can cut it right just past these mounts right here, so that I can retain those mounts. But even if I can't retain those mounts, one of those mounts is still considerably stronger than the stock mounts for the mini crawler. So even if I have to cut it right down the middle, like right through here, it's still going to be considerably stronger than the stock mounts for the mini crawler. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this just before these screws, I think, just to see where we end up as far as the length on this. I'm thinking this is going to be way too long. Even if I cut it here, it might be a little bit too long, but it's easier to take some off than to add some back. That's just not a possibility, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that now. Okay, so now I've got the two halves. Doesn't need to be really precise, this cut, because I'm going to be changing the cut. I know I am. Like I said, it's going to be closer to these mounts, if not right through those mounts. So it doesn't need to be that precise. But just to give you guys an idea of what's going on here and where I'm going with this. My only issue, I think, is going to be securing these together. I might have to drill a couple holes and screw just like this one is here. But basically I'm going to take this, it's already drilled out, and it's going to fit over top of these shafts, and it's going to sit like that. Actually, like this. No, this is this side. It'll sit just like this, and it's going to have to be a lot narrower, obviously, like I said, but that'll give you an idea. It's going to sit over top of that. I'm going to somehow mount these XR10 housings onto the mini crawler housings, and that'll give me the full mounting options for the XR10 Vanquish knuckles and C-hubs, and that should it's going to take quite a bit of tweaking, but DIYs always do. That should hopefully strengthen them, as well as strengthen the link mount points for the shocks and the links, the lower links, as well as give me more adjustability and a more secure fit for the C-hubs. Just grab my mini crawler here and do some measuring to kind of figure out where I want to be with this. I've shaved these little mounts down, or triangulation spots there down as well, so that's that. And then two basically to the outside of the C-hub, because that's where the spines go on the XR10. It's going to be a little bit longer, but the C-hub will sit on there deeper, so it's going to give me a little bit more throw there, a little more room to play with. So I'm going to want to go from about there to a little too far. Probably about there looks good. I can always, like I said, I can always take some off. I can't put it back on. So I'm going to go 40 mil, just to be safe. And let's see where we end up with that. That's actually pretty close to where we want to be already. So yeah, I'm just going to shave a little bit off of there to get me to 40 mil and see where we end up. So just like that, ideally, that's how it's going to sit. I'll still have my steering out front with my over the axle steering. It'll give me a little more length. It'll give me a little more strength, I hope. I still have to figure out a way to secure the two halves together. I mean, it is pretty good with just the C-hub on there, but I'd still rather have it a little more secure. I might, like I said, just drill a screw through either side there, top and bottom, or the front and back, and use that way to tighten it down. I don't want to compromise my ground clearance or my steering clearance though, so it may be a little trickier to do than to just talk about here. So but that's about where I think I want to be. Well, let's do the other half of this XR10 axle and see where we end up as far as width. I think I can still adjust this too, depending on how I decide to mount the XR10 tubes on there. I should be able to adjust the width a little bit as well, but let's see how that goes. You can see why my workbench is always such a mess though. I do a lot of DIY stuff like this, and a lot of plastic shaving and metal shaving and other things, so it doesn't take long for it to get a little messy. But for this one, the length is from out of the C to the other C is 105 millimeters, and in imperial that's 4 inches and 1/8, 4 1/8 inch. So that should keep us well within spec for the class. Let's see where we are overall. Just throw these wheels on here just to see where we're sitting. That puts us just over 8 inches. So I'm going to have to narrow it up a little bit. I'll probably have to do that, like I said, for the axle shafts anyways. But it's pretty close to where I was sitting before. And I'll have the stronger link mounts, which are in a similarly the same position as with stock, like really close to the same spot as stock. It'll move the shocks out a little bit, which is okay. The steering might rub on the shocks, but it's not a big deal at all. But it should make it pretty similar. I've got it backwards, but same anyways. Yeah, it should be very similar to where they are now. They're a lot stronger. A really good mounting for the XR10 C-hubs. Lots of room for adjustability. You can take those off and twist them. So it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna see if I can find a way to just secure those on there a little bit. But other than that, I think I'm really happy with this. I might shave down the edges just so that they don't catch on stuff, but realistically this is what it's gonna look like when it's done. I'm pretty happy with the results so far. Keep working. Alright, that screw is obviously too long. I'm going to put a shorter one in there or cut that one down to size, obviously. But that secures it up pretty good. I mean, the knuckle fell off, which wasn't screwed on, so that's not surprising at all. There. But yeah, that seems pretty secure. It's not going to come off of there. There's actually a groove in this the stock part right about here where I drilled just to make it so that the screw would catch in there. But I'll basically just put the two screws in here like you would on a stock XR10, and it's should work just perfect. Give you a lot more security right at the C-hub. It's not going to roll on you, it's not going to come off on you, it's nice and secure, and it seems pretty solid. So I'm going to get the rest of it put together here. Alright, so that puts me just a hair, about an 1/8 of an inch underneath 8 inches, which is the legal limit for the width of a Mini. So I have everything lined up just perfect. I've gone based off of the crack on the XR10 shaft, lined up on a spot on the pumpkin for the Mini crawler. So what I'm going to do now, I've decided I want to put in a set screw just so it doesn't twist, doesn't pull out, doesn't do anything like that. So I'm just going to take my drill and just drill a hole right straight through the top, right near the link mount. That's going to go through the stock housing as well as the XR10 housing. And you want to, probably a good idea to take that off so we don't hit the shaft, even though it's not a big deal. So that's right through there. And we'll do another one on the other side. Just double check everything and make sure it's all lined up nicely so that they're even. And same idea over here. We'll just go straight down through the top. And that'll just give us a spot. We'll just put a screw in there until it goes down and touches the drive shaft. Once it hits the drive shaft, I'll back it out. I'll shorten the screw a little bit and then I'll put it back in. And that should be it. So far, I mean, I'm impressed by it. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good idea. These screws might hang me up because they're on the front. If I were to redo it, I'd probably put those on the back or just omit them entirely because they're not all that necessary that I can see. But I'll probably grind the heads off of them, just the side of the heads, so that they'll sit nicely and stuff can flow over top of them. But yeah, that's that, and I'll get it all thrown on my truck. And alright, there we go. It's FRaNKENaXLE in the flesh. XR10 tubes, XR10 knuckles and C's, slid over top of a Mini crawler tubes, and I've got it turned on, a battery equipped, so we can see the steering angle. Pretty wicked steering angle, both directions. Just lift it up here. See the axles, XR10 tubes over top of the MRC stocks. And then I'll throw this down so you can see the mounts. I put some 3mm Revo ends on the lower links. The shocks, I've got them inverted. 3mm screw through there. And it puts me right at just under 8 inches, about an 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch under 8 inches, so I'm nice and spec. But there it is. The FRaNKENaXLE.